All right.
Good morning. I'm here to talk about corruption in Nigeria. First off, I'm going to give some background information. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa with about 175 million people. It's composed of more than 250 ethnic groups, the most well-known being the Yoruba, the Igbo, and the Hausa Fulani. The capital is Abuja, and its economy is based on natural resources such as oil, cocoa, and rubber. Oil makes up 95% of foreign exchange revenue and 80% of federal income. That means essentially oil profit is government spending money for jobs and for the people. Currently the country is looking for different ways to diversify its economy. The type of government is a federal republic, so Nigeria is made up of 36 states, each run by a governor, but it's headed by a central government. The president is called Goodluck Jonathan, which is kind of an interesting name. The GDP of Nigeria is $273 billion as of 2012. The religion of Nigeria is 50% Muslim, 40% Christian, and 10% indigenous beliefs. So my question was, what are the primary causes of corruption in Nigeria and what are its consequences? And I decided that the main reasons for corruption in Nigeria are greed, political instability, and the lack of punishment for following this common practice. Because of this, there's not enough money nor interest in caring for the people, which leads to poor education, little modernization, and extremely low-paying jobs. Nigeria is the world's 8th largest oil producer, and it's full of natural resources. Why then is it one of the poorest countries in the world? And the single word answer is corruption. Nigeria is considered the most corrupt country in the world, and if it's not, it's at least in the top 5. Since independence in 1960 from the British, the 3 major ethnic political parties competed to control the nation's wealth. Each group desired to enrich themselves, their followers, and their religion. Soon a sort of tradition was established. Greed and corruption became commonplace in Nigerian politics. There are many forms of corruption, such as bribery, embezzlement, which is like illegally stealing money, nepotism, that is like a bias or favoritism towards your friends and family. So an example would be, say you get your brother a position in the government because you have a position in the government. There's also extortion, abuse, protection, theft, and election rigging. That's right. Most elections were not won fairly. Usually the ballot boxes were stuffed to make sure that one certain person would win. According to Nuhu Ribadu, the chairman of Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Nigeria leaders have stolen or wasted more than $380 billion. 31 out of 36 governors are being investigated, including the governor of Nigeria, including a governor of Nigeria who's accused of stealing almost $1 billion alone. And my point is that there is so much corruption on so many levels in so many institutions in Nigeria, such as the police, political parties, the government, and even the judiciary branch. So you can't expect to have a fair trial if you can just pay someone if you can just pay a judge so he's in favor of you. Several examples of corruption are the Gowon administration, where the government ordered 20 million tons of cement into the port of Lagos when that port could only hold 1 million tons of cargo per year. So obviously the ports got congested and basic supplies could not get through. Officials broke the law by doing this, and in fact it hurt the overall economy of Nigeria. Another example is the Shagari administration. When investigators started financial probing on several officials, a few government buildings were mysteriously set on fire to cover up the trace. There was Baba Sanho and the police funds, Babangida and $12 billion, Atiku, Delta State Governor James Ibori. Now these names may not make much sense to you, but they are all examples of corrupt people who stole millions and perhaps even billions of dollars from the people. There was former Minister of Works and Housing, Hassan Lawal. He had 24 separate cases of fraudulent contracts, embezzlement, and money laundering. And the reason for all this corruption boils down to one simple reason: human greed. These people could not resist the temptation to help themselves to the money rather than the people. Second reason for corruption in Nigeria is political instability. In 1966, only 6 years after independence, the Igbo staged a military coup where almost 30 members of the government, including the Prime Minister, were murdered. The House of Fulani struck back with a second coup almost immediately after that replaced the government again. There was the Biafran War that nearly split the country. In 1979, the Shagari came. In 1993, Nigeria was ruled by a military dictatorship. There honestly was no time for Nigeria to settle down or for it to have a capable ruler. And with all these military coups and riots in the past, if you're an official, you're not sure when your rule is going to come to an end. So what you're going to do is just take what you can. Aung San Suu Kyi, a famous Burmese politician, said that it is not power that corrupts, but fear. Fear of losing power corrupts those who wield it. And this means corrupt people who are scared of losing their power will take as much money as they can and do anything by any means possible to maintain that position of power, such as rigged elections. My third and last reason is that there's nobody to enforce the law. And what I mean by that is that Nigerians know who has stolen the money, but they do nothing to prosecute or punish these people. I mean, how are they supposed to? It's not like one can get help from the authorities when the authorities are the heart of the problem. Mr. Almia Sega, who is the governor of the Bayelsa state, embezzled about 55 million in public funds and used it to purchase real estate all around the world. Eventually he was caught by the London police when they found $1 million of cash in his home. Goodluck Jonathan pardoned him, much to the protests of the Nigerian people. However, state legislature impeached Almias Sega and found him guilty. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison, but in the end he went free the very next day. Now, if there are essentially no consequences for stealing money, that means they have nothing to lose by trying to. And while this intense corruption favors those in high positions, it hurts the lower class. This is why Nigeria is one of the poorest countries in the world. Most live on $1 or less a day and are without power, drinkable water, and other basic needs in the Niger Delta, the center of the oil industry. You would think that people there would be prosperous and happy, but instead the government officials are taking away all the money. And because of corruption, there's poor health care, education, low-paying jobs, high unemployment, and Nigeria is not modernized at all. There is little or no electricity in many places. People are fed up with the poverty, death, and human rights abuse. They want to fight back. However, they don't have much political say or power since the electoral process is rigged. A large number of people have started to support militant groups, so rebellion is possible. To wrap it all up, Nigeria is corrupt on so many levels to an extremely wide extent. This is because of 1, political instability, 2, how easy it is to steal money, and 3, and perhaps most important of all, human greediness. Because of the corruption, people have terrible living conditions and are very unhappy. The only way to prevent what seems to be a likely rebellion in the future is for someone to be the better man, to step up and help Nigeria instead of themselves. Thank you.